Are you ready? You gonna intro us in here?
Welcome to another episode of After Bedtime with
Steven
and Kelsey.
We're really getting the hang of that. Alright, so this time you can't look at yourself the whole time. I'm leaving the video unhidden, but you can't just stare at the video of yourself.
It's kind of hard not to.
Whatever you say, babe. Whatever you say. Alright, we're going to do things a little bit differently this week. We have a much more structured episode, and we're going to try to intermingle this with a little bit of screen sharing too, just to make it a bit more dynamic and entertaining for the audience. For those of you that are just listening,
we're not entertaining enough.
Yeah, we're not entertaining enough. For those people that are just listening, though, we'll try to describe what we're showing through the screen, so you're not left out of the party. So I think the first thing we need to do, or the thing I've decided the first thing we need to do, is we need to take a moment of silence for all the Chiefs fans in our lives.
No.
Because the Super Bowl happened this weekend, and it did not go how any of us thought it was going to be. So, 1 second of silence. All right, okay. That was enough. For those of you that aren't aware, which I guess there's a guy I work with that said like he doesn't really get into sports. The Super Bowl is not really it's just another day for him,
that's interesting.
Which is kind of sad because I feel like, man, are you getting text messages?
I turned it on silent. I didn't know that it was gonna go off.
But the Super Bowl happened this past weekend, and we thought, which I guess by the time you're listening to this will actually be 2 weekends ago, but the Super Bowl happened this weekend before we're recording this, and we thought it was going to be a awesome battle of quarterbacks, and it turned to just be a straight up rout.
I do think it was still kind of an awesome battle of quarterbacks. It's just
the score was 31-9.
No, I get that, but I'm saying Mahomes could not get free.
Yeah,
people.
Every time he got the ball, he was just like sprinting away.
Yeah, but every throw he threw
was pretty incredible.
Was damn near perfect.
Did you see that? There was like a meme where it was like it was showed he's like literally parallel to the field sideways, and he's side arming the ball. And
that's a great picture for him to keep forever.
The meme is like, just for the record, the Chiefs didn't lose because of Patrick Mahomes.
I 100% agree with that. Mahomes played his little heart out.
Yeah, he tried.
He tried his best
to make stuff happen.
To do what he needed to do. I was talking to Allie about this. I feel like them missing that O-lineman guy. They were saying that they had one guy out, so they had to shift everybody around, and I feel like that made a big difference because it had everyone was on top of him.
I can't remember if it was their starting left tackle or their starting right tackle, but one of them was out, so they shuffled some starting guards to be tackles, and then they brought in backups to be guards. And I mean, granted, I still think it's unfortunate if one of your offensive linemen going down disrupts your offensive capability. That's a huge Achilles heel. The odds of an offensive lineman getting hurt at some point in the season are pretty high.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like you need to have more resiliency, more depth.
The shifting on top of it, maybe it would have been a better idea to put a backup in that position instead of shifting everyone from their position they're normally good at, or it just shows that you need to train them to be good at multiple positions and not just
I actually have a whole theory on the modern offensive lineman and how the architect for offensive linemen is outdated, but that's for another podcast discussion.
Yeah,
what I want to
say we're not talking to the right person.
What I want to talk about is how kick-ass that Tom Brady's 40+ years old and won his 7th Super Bowl.
I had a feeling
I think that's awesome.
Tom Brady was going to win. All of my Chiefs family are going to kill me for saying that.
We already took a moment of silence. We took a moment of silence.
I knew he was going to win. I just didn't think it was going to be by that much. I thought it was going to be a much closer game.
I thought it was going to be point for point.
Yeah.
And then the last person to have the ball was going to win. And if the last person to have the ball was Tom Brady, then the Buccaneers were definitely going to win.
Yeah.
But...
Because he's already proven time and time again that the final quarter is, if he's down, that's all of a sudden when he kicks it into high gear and he wins.
He was playing for keeps. He
Yeah.
was definitely playing for keeps. So, to get us started in our podcast episode, to get the juices flowing, I thought a fun segment that we could put into our podcast is one called In the News. So I have some news articles here that I want to share with everybody. And for those of you listening, I'll just read the headlines. But for those of you watching, I'll go ahead and show you our screen here so you can see the article itself. It's just a little bit more dynamic and interesting. The headline of this article says, well, if I could see it, this ad's covering it. Rob Gronkowski celebrates Super Bowl win with girlfriend Camille Kostek at Disney World in Florida.
I think you just butchered both of their names.
Yes, I probably did, which I very much apologize. But the reason why I picked this one to talk about is, okay, if you won the Super Bowl, is this what you would want to do after you won the Super Bowl? Like,
yeah.
I get the historic context. I get the tradition behind it.
It doesn't matter what I've done or what I've won. I'm going to Disney World if I get an opportunity.
I disagree. Like this looks like fun. They look very.
Gronk is a fun personality, and he probably was like, "Let's go."
Look, they're fighting with lightsabers. That's
awesome.
That looks so much fun, and they look like they're having a grand time together. But I think
where were they fighting with lightsabers?
Down here below, here in this video, it looks like him and this little kid are fighting with lightsabers. He's gonna throw a pass to Minnie. It looks like here.
That makes me love him even more.
Yeah,
he's
it's just
so
like he's having a great time. But the thing is I just don't think after I won the Super Bowl, I want to go run around Disney World. I think after I win the Super Bowl, I want to just like go home, relax on the couch, play some video games, and
that's
just like
a very introvert reasoning. But the extrovert over here, 100%.
You want to keep riding that high?
Yeah. I will leave the Super Bowl, like the stadium, and go straight to Disney.
Fair enough.
Really, or Universal, so I could go to Harry Potter World.
Well, that's not on the... They're celebrating at Disney.
I know, but I'm saying...
At Disney World.
I'm saying I would wrap it in.
Okay, next story. This one is more of up Steven's realm, but I want to get Kelsey's take on it. This is the latest iOS 14 or the latest forthcoming iOS update, which is the software that's on your iPhone if you have an iPhone. If you're an Android user, then just ignore this. But this headline says iOS 14.5 lets you set Spotify and others as Siri's default music service. So let me give some context to this. This is kind of exciting. This is a nerdy thing. But Apple has this history of like forcing you to do things the way they want you to do it, right? Like you have to use Safari as your default browser. If you click on a link, it opens in Safari. If you
look, it says you could, while wearing your mask, it will unlock.
Oh, that's an improvement there, right? Yeah, great for Apple. But even bigger news than accommodating pandemic wear is. Now they're gonna like loosen the reins on the walled garden a little bit, and if you want to have your default music service be Spotify, you can have it be that or others instead of just having it be defaultly set to Apple Music, right? So if you have a Spotify subscription and you ask Siri to play you some music,
told me to cancel. You told me that.
Well, maybe this will work with Amazon Music as well. But what I'm saying is, how exciting is that? Apple's opening up the world a little bit. Are you excited about that?
Yay.
You're not excited about that.
I only listen to. It's not nerdy. I don't use it.
Well, for the nerds among us, this is very exciting because Apple is finally embracing the people.
I don't think it's just nerd situation. I just don't use that stuff. I only listen to music when I'm fixing my hair, and especially in the pandemic season, I have not been fixing my hair.
This would be very convenient if you were like, fixing her hair, and you had a Spotify subscription, and because you don't have an Apple Music subscription.
Well, see, but that's the funny thing is I never.
We have an Amazon Music subscription.
I never sign up for the subscriptions. I'm the loser that's okay with listening to commercials.
Yes. Okay. Well, you could still use your Spotify for it. You could still set it to be default.
I do kind of like Spotify better. I feel like its user. What is it? Interface is a lot easier to maneuver.
I like it. I like it, Apple. Keep it up. Keep the updates coming. All right, this one you'll definitely have an opinion on.
No, I won't.
I'm messing with you. Okay, the third article, the last one of our In the News segment, is the headline reads, Kim Kardashian posts proof Northwest 7 is a better painter than most adults. Okay, so I wanted to get your reaction on this because so for those of you who can see it,
I've about cursed.
So for those of you who can see it, this
way.
is obviously, it looks like an Instagram story she's posted. And for those of you that can't see this, it's a beautiful landscape painting with some trees, a river, a mountain in the background, and it's just got impeccable detail and texture. It's very, very impressive if this was done by an 8-year-old. But by 7-year-old. So apparently she is taking some heat, though. Kim Kardashian, this is breaking news. Kim Kardashian is taking some heat because I think some people are having a hard time coming to believe this was actually done by her daughter. I'm not going to say whether she's making it up or not. All I can say is this is impressive if this was done by a 7-year-old. What do you think? I mean, if I was a betting man, if you had to tell me,
I would say bullshit.
I would say it wasn't done by her. I don't believe this was done by a 7-year-old. This just looks way too advanced. However, there are prodigies in the world. Yeah. There are super...
I mean, like, who am I? I mean,
it's just impressive.
Part of me wants to say bullcrap, and then the other part of me is like,
well, yeah.
Maybe she actually is. Maybe she does have that.
If that's her talent, I'm very much looking forward to things to come because that's just
that's impressive. That's really pretty.
Incredibly impressive. So good
I'd be
on
like,
you,
if she
Northwest.
wants to like stump the people, then she needs to do like a little time lapse video.
Yeah, if she wants to like put it, like say it, or have her reproduce it several times or something. I don't know. Yeah, actually, it would actually be really fun to like have her, if she's this talented, like have her make multiple paintings and then play some kind of game, like do an Instagram story where you put a vote on here that says, was this painted by a 7-year-old or a 37-year-old or something like that, and see if you can get people to believe it was actually done. I'm in disbelief.
I really don't think she's gonna get people to like believe that unless she has some like video proof.
Yeah.
Of North actually doing it.
Okay. All right. So that's the end of our In the News segment. This is just kind of get the opinions coming, get the fires stoked. Kelsey's got lots of opinions. We just got to pull them out of her. All right. Okay. So the next segment, before we get to the meaty topics of the podcast, is we're gonna say
Kelsey has a lot of opinions.
Yeah, you have a lot of opinions, babe. It's just like they come when you're reacting to things. So that's where we're going with this.
Okay.
And of course, like if you're listening, you're watching, like let us know your feedback if you like this format. Yes, I do this every time and I forget to do the timestamps as we go. So I'll do it afterwards. Anyways, the next segment is called "What do you think about this?" And this in this segment, I really want to know.
You start playing music.
Yes. So the opinions are ramping up. I need to get some segment music, maybe some graphics that play. We're leveling up here in 2021. Okay, so this was part of the Super Bowl. I didn't see it. You did not see this. Okay, did you?
But I also didn't see a lot of commercials that people are talking about.
I'm gonna mute this because I'm not really sure what the situation is on playing the sound. But this is the trailer for the upcoming series on Disney Plus. So for those of you that are watching,
but the sound is what makes it so powerful.
Okay, I'll play a little bit of sound.
Mr. Barnes, why does Sam aggravate you? 15 seconds to drop. So what's our plan? Great.
All right, so what we're showing, what we're talking about here is this is the official trailer for the upcoming series on Disney Plus. It's called The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it's actually a series. It's going to be on Disney Plus. It's a Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I thought it was going to be a movie
series on Disney Plus, and that's why I wanted to. So this aired during the Super Bowl. So this was one of the Super Bowl commercials. And so I want to get your thoughts. Like, what do you think? Did you watch this all the way through?
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, what are your thoughts? Do you think this is going to be good?
From what I could see, yeah.
I'm really worried, though, that there's no Captain America. Like, I understand the tie-in. I understand how the Falcon and the Winter Soldier fit into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and how, that, like, they were Captain America's buddies, and, like, but they were like supporting cast. They weren't like the main.
I think you are selling them a little short. I think these two actors could do, because it's not just like lead. It's like two side characters together making the lead.
True.
It's not gonna be like one over the other. Like, obviously Captain America, Iron Man, like those are characters that are like they can hold their own.
So you know how.
But also a lot of people thought Spider-Man wasn't going to do a very good, Tom Holland wasn't going to do a very good job until they started seeing movies. True,
yes. So that's my only really reservation about the whole thing is like, can these two characters come to the main stage and hold the thing? They can. Okay, but the thing that I'm most excited about, okay, so I fully know I'm a hypocrite here because like 2 episodes ago I was shitting all over Disney Plus and its lack of content. But
you just had to give it some time.
I just had to give it time. So I have to eat my words a little bit because the thing I'm most excited about this is that it is a series format, because I think the series format is such a much better format for these types of stories, because you can really build the character and establish the arc.
I like that they're doing that more with some of the what you call the side characters. I'm gonna sneeze.
Oh my gosh.
I like that they're doing this with some of the side characters because it gives you the time to love them. Because I mean, like Iron Man had like multiple movies. Like, what am I saying? I loved Iron Man from the beginning. I love all these characters from the beginning, but I think some people needed time and build story to like really fall in love.
Yes.
Type thing.
Well, it's more of just it's the constraints of the format, right? When you only can have an hour and a half or an hour 45, maybe 2 hours tops, you just have to be very targeted with each scene, and the writing and everything has to be very condensed. Whereas like in a series format like this, you may get 8, 10, 30 minute to 60-minute slots, right? So it's almost like 2 or 3 times the amount of time that you have to build the characters, to establish the storylines, and then you can serialize it like over multiple seasons if you want to.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually excited about this. I think these two actors will do a really good job. I think their characters have enough oomph to be on their own.
I'm so glad we subscribed to Disney Plus now.
But I will say that there has been... we have not watched the Wanda...
I have, and I won't ruin it. I won't ruin it for you.
That kind of makes me mad.
No, we never agreed
that was...
You just
jumped right into that. You didn't talk about like that's something that you were wanting to watch.
Yeah, but
you just dove into it.
Well, we'll take this offline. We'll take it offline. That's what people say in meetings.
I'm a little peeved by that.
Okay, so what was I going to say? Oh, the thing I will say about the WandaVision show.
I was going to say a lot of people I've heard a lot of controversy.
It's just very like I'm.
A lot of people are
right now. Like I can't even give it a thumbs up. I'm kind of like teetering. I'm still trying.
Well, a lot of people are saying that it kind of almost messes up the timeline a little bit of some things.
Well, I haven't gone that deep into the rabbit hole. I just more of a commenting on the quality of the show. I saw one dude
on like TikTok that was like writing on his mirror trying to explain it to his girlfriend, and he was very heated.
Okay. So we're moving along here. We're still in the what do you think about this section. Now we're going deeper now. We're coming off culture, just kind of pop culture topics, and we're going to go to something that's a little bit deeper.
No, but I feel like you put too much into it because Kelsey, like you said, has a lot of opinions.
Yeah, I know. And
I
you're
can
just going to keep going.
Just go on these things. And you're like...
Rein it in. Okay, so this was a Facebook post. Okay, so for those watching, you can see, and those of you listening, we're looking at a Facebook post that I saw in my news feed that's basically a picture of this child that's obviously in timeout. So they're sitting in the corner, and there's a nice, a pretty well read caption. I won't read the whole thing, but the gist of it, the gist behind this caption is essentially that the author is making the supposition, I think that is a word, and I think I'm using it correctly, but they're basically saying maybe it's possible that the reason why when children become older, become teenagers or even young adults, they have a hard time managing their emotions or expressing their emotions is because we don't, as parents, we don't do a great job when they're little helping them work through those emotions and teaching them the proper strategies for feeling and dealing with those feelings and what are appropriate responses. Instead, we just kind of shut them down and tell them to like stop and go to timeout or stop and go to your room. And so then they learn their own maybe not so ideal coping strategies that then don't serve them well later in life. So that's kind of the gist, but it's a pretty well written. I'll include this in the show notes, the link to this post, because I think it's worth the read. And I'm not saying that this is like this author is 100% right, but I want to get your thought about that. What do you think of that? Like kind of just the basic idea there.
See, I have a hard time with stuff like this sometimes because I don't like to feel like I'm judging other parents for what they're doing, what they felt like was right for their child.
I just realized my Apple Watch has been recording me as working out this whole time, so my tracking is going to be really messed up.
That didn't need to be.
Oh, yeah. Okay, back to the topic. Yep.
I don't feel right about judging other parents and their...
We're not judging right or wrong. I just want to know what your thought is on that. Like, what do you think about that?
I could see some truth to that. I could see how I've noticed a lot lately. Kyler's very, very quick to anger. He gets very angry, very revved up very quickly, and it takes quite a bit of time lately to kind of bring him back down from that. But I also have noticed that he's like very quick to anger, like it goes up here, but it's like it's right next to very, very emotional at the same exact time. And so I do kind of see how like sending him off in that angered state, I struggle with bringing myself down from situations like that. So I could see where that, like, sending the child away or putting them in timeout to figure out their emotions by themselves, I could see where there's truth to this. But, like I said, I don't like to
I personally
judge what...
Babe, that phone is an interruption.
I don't like to judge what another parent felt like was right for their family. I think for our family, what
You're being such a politician about this.
I don't, because I have been in the situation of being the mom being stared at because of something, and it's uncomfortable. It makes you question yourself, and I just don't want to add to that parent shaming
world. I get that.
I think for our family, what has helped a lot is to teach the technique of having Kyler breathe, because he'll do the when he's like so mad, and so teaching him to kind of slow down his breaths and calm down and then talk to him, I think has been best for our family, because when they're at that heightened state, they can't think straight whenever they're in that state, to be able to communicate with them of what happened, why they got in trouble, or, you know, of that nature. Why do you do that to me? Why are you staring?
No, okay.
Normally when somebody ends their talking, you start talking.
Yeah, but sometimes you just keep
do
talking.
An awkward...
Sometimes you keep talking. I don't know if you're done yet.
Well, if I'm doing the rambling where I'm repeating the same thing of what I've just said before, you should probably be best to just go ahead and speak up.
Okay, I'll cut you off. I concur with your thoughts. I think with a lot of things that are emotional and that are human, that there's a lot of gray area in here. I think I like this post because it advocates for the other side of probably what is more dominant in society, which is, stop crying, stop whining. We do kind of default to trying to just we try to default to just kind of getting control very quickly and trying to expect them to have the ability to get control of their emotions very quickly.
Which me and you still struggle with that.
Yes, yeah.
Of situations of telling them to stop crying.
Yes, yeah,
or something like that. Which it bothers me whenever you or I do that, because I don't want to tell them that they can't cry.
To me, that's where the gray is. That's where the gray area is here, because there are times where I do think that, I would say what this post is kind of advocating for is probably should be more our default, which is we should recognize that our children probably don't have the same emotional capacity and emotional restraint that we do as adults, and so one of our jobs is to try to coach them and teach them how to build that emotional restraint, how to work through things and feel things in the proper way to express those things. And part of that is just, instead of just telling them that's inappropriate, part of it is coaching them through that it's okay to feel that way, but the way you're expressing that is not appropriate. Yeah. Here's how we should work through those feelings. But on the flip side of that, I do think there are times when your kid, their emotion has a secondary gain to it. They're trying to get something. They're trying to manipulate, or not manipulate carries kind of a negative connotation to it, but they're basically trying to get something, and they're using their emotional response to try to get you as a parent to react to them.
Which normally it's because it's either worked before.
Correct, and you've built some kind of reinforcement into that. So I don't know. I'll link this in the show notes, and it's worth the read because it does make you think about kind of how you respond to kids when they're upset or when they're having kind of a big emotional moment. All right, now we're gonna get really into the meat and potatoes of the show. I use that phrase a lot, the meat and potato.
You do.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, so best strategies. This is what I thought we could kind of focus on for the end, the big culmination, before we end on a very good note. Best strategies for being honest with your partner about important but topics that you know are going to be very sensitive, right? So I bring this up because I think that we have some advice to offer, or at least some stories to offer that may offer insights for other people, because I feel like this is one of the things as a couple we've gotten much better about. And I'll offer my thoughts on this from two perspectives. From your perspective,
you can't offer advice from my perspective.
Well, the way I view how things have gotten better in our relationship when it comes to being honest about sensitive topics with one another is I have developed much more nuance and better delivery skills with my honesty. And
because you married a ticking time bomb?
And I feel that, because what was it you asked me the other day? What was the question you asked me the other day? If you came with a warning label, what would the warning label say? And I said
TikTok trend.
Yeah, and I said it would say something like handle with care. So
it's not that I'm quick to anger. I'm just a very emotional person.
That's what I was going to say is I've gotten much better, I think, at more tactfully delivering my honesty about things. But I feel like one of the things I've seen from you is you've been able to create a lot more space for yourself between what I'm saying and what you're feeling.
I just think we've gotten more comfortable as a couple, that I know that everything out of your mouth isn't a double meaning. I've gotten more comfortable with myself from that. And I sometimes have to remind myself of that whenever you say something to me. I'm like, he's not attacking you. He's not saying that you're doing wrong or anything like that. He's just genuinely asking the question. And so I think the biggest thing is just trying to create a safe environment.
Yes.
With both parties. That both parties feel comfortable enough to say what they need to say without it turning into a big, huge fight. And do your best that you can to say it as gently.
You're just laying down the advice. Look at you go.
I think just laying to say it as gently as you can if it is a very sensitive topic. To know that person is saying it because they love you, not because they're judging you.
Because that, to me, that's the hard part in relationships, is because there are things that really need to be discussed and things that really need to be shared. And I think sometimes as a partner, you also have a sense of conviction that because you care, because you are somebody who supposedly cares about this other person, you do have some kind of like responsibility to say something, to bring this topic up and discuss it. But you struggle because because you have such a close relationship, you already know that other person is somewhat aware of this situation.
And that it is either an insecurity or a sensitive
and so it's
subject.
like, how do I approach this and make them feel as if I'm on their team and that I care about them and that I'm bringing this up not because, like, to your point, I'm not trying to attack you, I'm not trying to accuse you of anything or pass judgment on you, but I care and I want to help, like, be a part of this and make this a team thing and not a you versus me thing.
I think it's taken multiple discussions of me and you setting the groundwork before we say the thing of, like, I don't want to fight. You know, like, I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm not doing this. I'm not judging you. But this is my concern.
For me, it really, and for the thing that helped me a lot was just moderating my expectations about how you should respond to what I'm saying, right? Like,
well, everyone should do that with everybody in the world.
Yes.
Like, you cannot control how that person
my
reacts.
problem was early on is, like, I would say something, like, obviously I would say something that I know consciously is going to be a sensitive topic for you, and yet my expectation is that she's supposed to react like, oh, geez, Steve, thanks for that constructive criticism. I really enjoyed that. And then I would kind of get, like, righteously indignant about it because I'm like, well, I just love you and I just care about you and I'm just trying to help and blah, blah, blah. I'm just trying to make things better. And basically make it about her reaction to what I said instead of approaching that with my eyes wide open, which is, okay, this is a tough topic to talk about.
Yeah.
So we need to give each other lots of room for whatever emotions that come out of this. We need to give ourselves lots of grace and forgiveness that whatever the initial reaction is, that don't make that the issue. Like, you, like, give space.
Well, I also think that for a while, especially with me and my big emotions, that I think that you did very well is that you got to a point to where you would bring the topic up, and if I had a big reaction, you would let it cool down and let me think about what actually was said. And then normally I would come back and I'd be in agreement with what you said and in a better mindset to talk about it. It's just I've struggled over the past couple years of being a very insecure personality.
You're so much better though at me than at delivering stuff like this, because there'll be times when like, you intuitively know how to. You intuitively do this well. Like, you'll be like, I'll be like working or something, and it'll be past time to be done with work, and you'll be like, hey, Steven, the kids are gonna have to go to bed pretty soon. And I just say that because, I know you're gonna be disappointed if they go to bed and you didn't get to spend time with them. But I totally understand you're trying to get something done, but I just want to remind you.
I normally am saying stuff to bring the obsessive hustle Steven back to reality, because I have listened to you so many times be so disappointed that you missed that time.
You do such a much better job of like very nicely and very kindly and very suggestively reminding me of what my...
Because then it makes you feel like it was your decision. I was just the reminder on your
iPad. I know what's being said there. Like I know what, because like the way Steven would have said that is like, that's what the way.
Okay, Kelsey, let's shut it down.
The way Steven would have said that to Steven is, well, Steven, why are you still working? You said your priority was your kids. Why you're ignoring your kids to do your work? What's the problem there, right? Like, and it's like saying the same thing, but the way the message is delivered lands so differently.
I think I've gotten better. I think I am good at it because that's how I would deliver those things to myself. That I actually wish I spoke to myself like that in my own head. Inside here, Kelsey's not very nice. But I mean, like, I'm getting better at it. It's just that's how I would want to be spoken to in those situations.
That's very good. And obviously we're still working on that. But I feel like that's a really tough one. It's a really tough one for marriages, for siblings, for parent-kid, like any really close, intimate relationship where you have to, where you need to be candid with them, but you are aware that what you're gonna say is probably gonna be a little triggering.
Yeah.
And not that you're trying to trigger them, but that you know that they're sort of kind of like if you're talking to somebody who knows they sort of have an issue with their weight, or someone who knows they sort of drink too much, or someone who's like, I probably spend too much. You know, those things that we're all kind of unconsciously aware of some of our shortcomings, and then when somebody like puts it in blatantly in front of your consciousness, you
get defensive.
Yeah, your immediate reaction is
shut down, or you get angry, or
but you wouldn't want anyone else to really talk to you about those things except those people closest to you.
Well, so I think it's more of everyone just needs to become. It needs to be a comfortable thing that if your family is concerned about something, or if your family should just always want what's best for you. And if they're coming to you with advice or worry about something, like even if, I don't know, majority of the time, sometimes it has some truth to it. And so you should at least take it in and think about it.
I think you have to have some discretion, because I'm sure there are some.
Yeah, there's some things where you're like that.
But I just know that I think most people can relate to kind of what we're talking about here, which is you've got something you need to be candid about. How's the best way to go about delivering that in a way that doesn't hurt the other person or hurt the relationship in a way that you can't recover from. And my kind of like, I guess this is like an overarching theme of life is like, you can't let the fear of having that conversation stop you from having it. And then 2, you need to make sure and like set your expectations that this is going to be a tough, hard conversation, and it's not going to go exactly how you think it should go. And then 3, I think it's like you need to keep practicing, keep getting reps. Like even if the conversation, like for us, like in the early years of our relationship, even if those early conversations weren't very productive or weren't very effective for multitude of different reasons, we've only been able to get better because we've kept getting reps at that.
And let's point out, Kelsey in the beginning was not gentle about things. I mean, I probably would have done it in a very passive-aggressive, snide comment to get your attention versus like actually coming to you with what my issue was. It's taken a while for me and you to be able to communicate.
That's the key. Like,
I also think practice. The biggest thing is that both parties have to be willing to work.
Yeah, you have to be like both be self-aware and kind of willing to like turn your critical eye on yourself, like think about like how I could have done better. Like if you both are approaching it as like, what could I have done better in this situation, then good things come out of that, because then it doesn't turn into like this like, well, you did that and I did this and you did. If you're both like, well, I could have done this better, and they're like, well, I could have done this better, then now you're each like giving and taking. It
turns into a healthier discussion. I mean, how long did it take me to get you to actually go to bed at a decent time? It took me until this year.
Yeah. I read a book too that really convinced me.
Not just, the 6 years prior of Kelsey being like...
It may have had something to do with my wife's influence.
Your brain.
It might have, yeah. It might have.
A little bit.
All right, so... Okay, so we're going to wrap up here with something fun, which I'll play just a few, okay.
Which we have to admit that, we do have to say this, that my dad showed us this first.
Yes, your dad pointed this to us, but it's really,
we okay, so there's this,
and like, feel free to add to this, but there's this trend, or I don't know if it's a trend, but there's this thing I see on TikTok where people use this phrase, lives in your head rent-free.
Yeah.
Basically meaning that like
what celebrity interview,
basically meaning like this thing that you think about, that you're glad that it's in your brain and that makes you laugh, or makes you feel good or whatever. Okay, so there's this video by these two comedians. Their names are Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer. I probably butchered his name too.
Kreischer.
Right. Okay, so they have a podcast called Two Bears in One Cave. It's a pretty raunchy podcast. So like if you're
be prepared.
Rated MA.
Like if you've watched their comedy stand up, that is what.
Okay, but if you're ever feeling down, you have to go watch this YouTube clip from one of their episodes. It's this. Okay, so I'll set the context for what's going to happen. And for those of you listening, this will help kind of like what I'm getting at. So the video on YouTube, if you search for it, it's just called Tom Segura Discovers Bert Kreischer Drinks a Gallon of Kool-Aid a Day. And it's like at the beginning of one of their podcasts, they're like going back and forth and having a discussion. And at some point in the back and forth, Bert Kreischer takes a drink from his giant ass, like hydro flask looking bottle. And Tom Segura's like, what you got in there? And Bert Kreischer's like, I drink a gallon of Kool-Aid a day. And it just sets both of them off, and they cannot stop laughing. So I'll just play a little bit of it because it's just infectious. But then you have to go, to get the full effect, you got to go watch the full 7 minutes or so of laughing uncontrollably.
Try your day? Really? It's so good. What kind? Red. Kool-Aid is fucking awesome.
And then this is it. Tom Segura just loses it.
Well, because you're thinking as an adult, the adult saying Kool-Aid is fucking awesome.
Okay, so I gotta jump forward to where they're busting. and every time they like stop and they look at each other again, they just like bust up laughing. I don't know if the sound is gonna come through on the podcast, but yeah, you definitely have to go check it out. It's like if you're having a bad day, just go ahead and bookmark this video.
Oh, I mean, here, pause it for a second. The best way to describe it girls know this. It's when you're on a sleepover with your friends and it's real early in the morning and that one thing sets you both off to where you're laughing so hard that you can no longer control the situation. And like, if you keep looking at each other or if you keep like talking about the situation, the laughing is not going to go away.
The one thing that made you laugh now makes everything else that happened.
Yeah, and it becomes like, like a memory of where they're like, do you remember when we found out Bert Like, well, which one is who's who? I keep forgetting that.
This is Bert Kreischer and this is Tom Segura.
Yeah. Do you remember when we found out that Bert drinks
a gallon
of Kool-Aid a day?
If you can search it, you can search for it on YouTube, but I'll link this one in the show notes as well.
It's so freaking
It's so
funny.
good. And shout out.
They're both so freaking
Shout
funny.
out to Kelsey's dad for showing it to us because it's just hilarious.
Woo-hoo.
And it lives in my head rent free.
It does me as well. Like whenever I see it, it just makes me laugh.
I basically put this segment in the show just so I could be hip and use that use that phrase. All right, we have come to the end of the podcast. All right, so if you guys like this format, this is a little bit different, but I thought it may be interesting to do it this way and kind of get us going and talk about some things that are relevant and then dive into something that's a little bit more heady. So yeah, please send us some feedback. On Instagram, you can find me at steven.freeborn, and then Kelsey, you can find at kfreeborn412. And the division of feedback is positive goes to Kelsey, negative goes to me, and we'll try to do our best to kind of like keep up with the feedback and actually react to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess.
When did you say this was gonna come out?
In this coming Tuesday.
Oh. Okay.
All right. Thanks for listening. We hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.